Thank you, Investor Fuse community, for hopping on. It is a pleasure and privilege to have Jesse LeBlanc on, CEO of Exigo Management in Atlanta, Georgia. We got on about 15 minutes prior to going live here, had a nice conversation, life, business, mindset, and excited to talk about some of that stuff today. And I'm going to open it up to Jesse to give a further introduction on himself, and we'll do a nice background story on Jesse before he got into some aspects of real estate, into wholesaling specifically. And we're waiting a little bit here, 2:32. We're waiting for a few more people to hop on. But Jesse, thank you so much for coming on,
Absolutely.
man, and excited. Would love to hear a little bit more about you so you could tell our community about yourself and your business.
Yeah, so I guess I won't go too far into detail just yet, so we can have that open-ended here shortly, but extremely quick. Back before 2009, I was a marketing analyst. I was a financial analyst, worked for Hewlett-Packard and Red Bull, a couple other companies out there. And end of 2009, or somewhere in the middle of 2009, I completely changed up, went from corporate world to, hey, you know what? I always wanted to be a police officer, but at the same time, hey, I knew I was going to take a major pay cut. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, I'm in a great place for it. I live in Atlanta, but I'm actually in DeKalb County. And I said, okay, I'll try this one time. I'm just going to go up to the county, and if God said let it be, then let it be. So I went up there and filled out my application, and they literally said, hey, you know what? You're in luck. Tomorrow we're actually having, I forgot what they call it, but whatever their little program, everybody's coming together to kind of show off their skills and whatnot. And so they just had one person that dropped out, and they're like, yeah, you can come tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not exactly ready for this, but sure. I don't remember the last time I actually ran, but I've got to like run sprints and do all these push-ups and sit-ups. And I'm like, well, I'm probably going to puke, but let's go for it. So yeah, anyway, I went there and passed their test and got the job. So I was like, all right, well, I guess there it is. I guess I'm going to be a police officer. So I went and worked for DeKalb PD since 09 till about 2014. Left there and then started doing kind of some odd jobs, getting into Section 8 inspections and a little bit more towards real estate that I really wanted to get into. And that was 14. And then by the end of 2014, I decided to start the company that I have now, Exigo Management, as kind of like a GC, but almost like a liaison, if you will, between other property management companies and the investors. I didn't want to deal with the tenants. I just wanted to go in there and do very, very light cosmetic kinds of stuff. I didn't really know anything at all about real estate. It was a fake it till you make it kind of situation. And at the end of 2014, started the business, and another investor, I think I worked for about 3 investors on just very small projects. And one of the investors loved our quality, our speed, and everything that we did, and asked, hey, do you want to start flipping houses? This is what I want to do. And I'm like, absolutely. Why would I say no? This is exactly what I've been thinking I wanted to do. So I'm going to do it. And again, here I was kind of fake it till you make it. He saw that I had, my contracts, my invoices, everything looked legit. But at the office, I'm probably like sweating balls and not really sure exactly what I'm doing. And so anyway, we started flipping houses together in 2015. We did around 7 or so houses. We had one major lesson, like an $80,000 loss. Every other house we did okay on it. And so by the end of 2015, working with him, it was too stressful. I was basically the project manager, 12, 14 hours a day, running all the projects. And about halfway into the year, I found out that he wasn't local. I thought he was like maybe in North Carolina. Come to find out he's actually in Spain, sitting on a yacht. And so here I am doing all the work, but we're splitting everything financially 50-50. And so I started gaining a little bit more knowledge and then realizing that I was just being taken advantage of. So finally, by the end of 15, I'm like, done with this. Let me just take a hiatus. So starting 2016, I was in Germany. In March of 2016, I actually bought my first property here in Atlanta while I was there in Germany. And that was my very first flip. And I used a general contractor on that. Luckily, it was somebody I kind of knew. But as every general contractor, things take a lot longer and a little bit more than you expect. So right after that, I started kind of doing my own project management for my own flips in 2016. And I still wasn't getting as good of deals as I really wanted. I wasn't making the profit that I really wanted. So the only way I could do that is start sourcing my own deals. So by the end of 2016, I started doing a little bit of wholesale, doing some Craigslist ads, just bare bones minimum things just to try to get some deals. And then starting 2017, I hired a full-time acquisitions manager, started doing all the marketing. And just before 17, I also hired a full-time project manager to run all of my rehabs for me. So that was my first 2 hires. And then all of 17, we've been just kicking butt. It took, I think, about 4 months before my acquisitions manager landed his first deal. I kind of stripped him away from an IT job, and I knew I was running some major risks. But to be able to take him from that job, I guaranteed his salary from his IT job. And the way I operate is if I'm not stressed, things aren't happening. So I knew that, hey, I've got to be able to cover at least 25 grand or something here for this guy. And I've got to make it work. I have no choice. I've got to make it work. So April was his very first deal of 2017. And then for the next 8 months, we doubled his salary just in 8 months. And so now his going on his second year, he should easily be making 6 figures this year for sure. And, I think all of 17 I did, I can't remember exactly how many flips, another handful, maybe another 7 or so flips in 17. And then in 2018, we've done 5. We're on our 5th one now, but I've just kind of scaled back or scaled the business up. But as far as the amount of flips we're doing, I kind of went back because now I'm focused on quality, not the actual quantity. And a lot of other people are like, oh, you flipped 20 houses. Yeah, but if you only made 10 grand on 20 houses, I can do that in like 3 or 4 houses. So I want the quality and minimize the stress. So here we are. Now we're at where we are today. And we just sold one of our flips today, purchased another flip yesterday. And today we've already got 2 contracts signed. In the last week and a half, we've had 9 or 10 wholesale deals signed. We've hired 3 new people. So, man, we can definitely go back and start backtracking and do long-winded, but that's kind of the gist on where we started to where we are today.
A lot going on there, man, in the last 2.5 years since you got to the real estate game. Guys, if you're just joining us, we're on with CEO of Exigo Management, Jesse LeBlanc. He's in Atlanta, Georgia. He just gave a nice timeline description of his professional career, starting as a police officer. Really appreciate your service there. We were chatting, saw the police flag there in the background, and then how he got kind of his real estate puzzle piece of how he got into wholesaling was a couple odd jobs as like a Section 8 inspector, general contractor, doing some cosmetic type rehab for other investors. And then he started getting into doing flips himself, and then also wholesaling. And I think there's a common theme that we've seen here, Jesse, with people that I talk to, other fusers, other wholesalers, is they may get into the flip game, but then realize that that's the amount of disproportionate risk when you're fixing up houses versus wholesaling, where you're just assigning off a contract. And then also the direct to seller marketing. If you start getting it from other people, you're realizing that you could be leaving money on the table if you start doing your own marketing and finding and sourcing your own deals, which you've had a lot of success with when we chatted maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago via email and set this up. Yep. So would love to hear about that, guys. If you're on, please thank you, Dylan, Chad, Barry, everybody who's saying hello, Tina. Bring your questions for Jesse as we're talking about this stuff. But now that we kind of backtracked in your professional career, I want to take it back to Germany. You got your first flip. Tell me a little about your mindset about shifting into wholesaling, because relatively you're pretty new in the game here.
Absolutely, yeah.
2 years, but you're having this massive success. You're able to bring on acquisitions, pay them 6 figures in a year. Sounds pretty good to me, man. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I know. As a matter of fact, I just walked in the door now, and I'm coming in. Wife is going out to work, and she just sees it on my face. She's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "I need more people. I've got to hire more people." She's like, "You just hired 3 people." I'm like, "I don't care. I need like 2 more people." I just can't keep up, and I can't let my team waiting on me to do the dispositions, because right now I'm doing all the dispositions, and I'm just like, holy moly. I can't keep up with all you guys' contracts, but I'm glad you're stressing me out because, again, hey, That's exactly how I'm going to do the best, is having a little bit of stress.
That's one thing I was going to ask you too before we were off air. One thing I wanted to get a breakdown to you, and we can transition to this after we go through this part. But kind of give me an outline of your day to day, since you do have all these acquisitions manager hired. So you just said it's kind of dispositions, but we can expand on that in a little bit.
Yeah. So you wanted to step back. Let's backtrack to remind me of your question again. How far back we want to go?
Yeah, I was saying take me back to Germany.
Okay.
First, talk about, I guess, even buying a property when you're not even there, not even in the country, is interesting. But buying that first flip and then kind of realizing, hey, I can source my own deals. What kind of marketing, what kind of lead generation can I do to get my own deals, and build from there a wholesaling operation?
Right on. So that first deal actually came from Craigslist. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this guy had posted it for sale. And I found out that there was already a tenant in place. And then it led into, hey, he's actually foreclosing on it. He did a seller finance for a while. And the price just wasn't right. And it wasn't close enough to Atlanta to where a lot of people were jumping on the deal. And he was already asking a higher price. But I was pretty confident with my ARVs and my numbers. So just because he was asking a much higher amount didn't mean anything to me. I know what I can pay, so here's what it is. And so offered it to him, no go. Tried to talk to him again, no go. So then now when I'm in Germany, he calls me back and he's ready to go. Well, of course, I'm not there. Well, I'm like, well, heck, now what do I do? So that's when I started learning, oh, okay, cool. We can either do mail outs, we can do a POA, a power of attorney, we can have somebody else sign. I don't have to be there. So I'm like, sweet, this is kind of like the old Spain guy, my old partner. This is what he did. He's out on vacation and still doing houses. So I'm like, well, why not? So I jumped on that really quick to figure out how to get the deal done. So sure enough, man, got that squared away and got back. Already had my contractor on it. Luckily, I had already seen the property before, so already knew, already had all my pictures, so already knew everything that I wanted done. So I didn't really need to be here, and then just make a few phone calls and get the progress started on that deal. And then cool. I think that took just over 2 months. It wasn't that big of a job, maybe a month and a half, close to 2 months. I think that was like a $40,000 or so rehab. And I believe the profit on that one was roughly 25. It wasn't anything exciting, but it was somewhere around 25,000 for that deal. But for my first one solo, away from everybody else, I wasn't going to complain at all. And as we all know from a police officer's salary, of even going through college and having degrees, it doesn't matter. You're pretty much set at, here's your salary, $42,000. So to do one deal in 2 months, and it takes another month or so to sell it. So let's say less than 4 months, I've already got more than half of what my salary was for the entire year. So that was certainly a nice eye opener and really got me excited. I mean, I already kind of knew about it before, but now it's my own. And I was really excited to kind of keep moving forward. So that's really what started me on it.
Yeah, I could see that definitely lighting a fire on you, just getting a financial salary, like a yearly salary perspective.
Yes. Absolutely.
So what did you go to? So you netted about 25K there on your first flip while acquiring the property in Germany. What was kind of your mindset, and what did you do next as far as strategy? Did you kept doing flips, or you wanted to get into wholesaling? You're like, I need to hire people. What was going on there? And what'd you do after that?
Yeah. So, I might lose a little bit of focus because I've had so many. So just kind of bear with me, or we'll go back. And I know you guys don't know the timeline, but in my mind, I'm just trying to put it all together. So from there, it was just straight up flip. I just want to focus on flips. I didn't even know really anything at all about wholesale. I knew I was getting some emails from some deals, but I didn't really know too much about wholesaling. I just knew I was getting some deals in my mail, and okay, cool, I'll run my numbers. And so that was early 2016. I think I did like one more and still made really good. So here I am at that point in time, probably 50 to 60,000 in off of 2 houses. So I just kind of slowed down a little bit, looking for the quality deal. And so nothing was coming. I think I had 2 to 3 months of just nothing coming on. But one of my really good contractors that did all my jobs for me back in 2015, I actually reached out to him. He's the one who helped me on one of my second properties there. And after that, I just didn't have any more work for him. But I really loved the guy, loved his family and everything. So I told him, I said, look, I've got enough investors that I can probably keep you busy. I just don't have anything right now. And I know I want to do more work with you down the road. And so 3-4 months or so passed. I didn't have anything. I think I finally was about to get a deal. And I said, you know what? Now I know I've got access to several more deals. I've done more research. Now I started learning a little more about wholesale. So now I know I've got access to deals. So I called this contractor back and I said, hey, look, are you interested in a full-time gig? And he's like, man, I'm packing my stuff up right now. I'm going back to New York. Jobs just haven't been good. And we're moving back. And I said, man, no, seriously, like, I'm going to give you a full-time job and you've got the security, guarantee you. And he went back, talked to his wife. Minutes later, he's like, all right, we're staying in Atlanta. So they were literally packing up. She was quitting her job, going back to New York because he had a lot of work back there in New York. So anyway, I turned him into my full-time project manager sometime end of 2016. And ever since then, just never looked back. And the salary for him was way below what it probably should have been, but I just had to at least keep him here and keep the jobs running. I think initially I started him out around 40,000, and now cutting far down the road, now he's making 50,000, but I'm also giving him 1% of all of our revenue for every flip. So most of our houses are selling between 225 and 275 is just kind of our average. And so he's making basically 2,500 or so on every single house in addition to his normal salary. So he's not going anywhere. And I just sent him and his wife to Vegas and sent them to Panama City. And they've not had a honeymoon in 18 years. So I was like, here you go. You deserve it. But yeah, that's pretty much from 16 having that house in Germany, going straight into some more flips. By the end of 16, I knew I had to have him because I was not going to be the project manager anymore on these. I couldn't scale the business if I'm out there at Home Depot all day long and running the projects. So that was kind of a no-brainer. That was my very first hire.
That's amazing, man. And yeah, talk about lighting a internal fire motivation, being able to send some of your team out on a nice honeymoon vacation that they haven't done in decades. That's awesome, man. So let's talk a little bit about the lead generation that we were talking about earlier, what you're doing to get deals now. And tell me a little bit about the split now as far as how many deals you're actually taking down and flipping versus just wholesaling.
Gotcha. So right now, I mean, as far as how we're marketing, we've got a little bit of Google PPC, but not much. I'm probably going to increase that. We've been doing a lot of Facebook and then retargeting on Facebook as well. That's just taken a little bit of time. I think we started that in October of last year, and it's just now really starting to generate a ton of leads. And of course, I'm putting a lot of money into it. So what do you expect? Direct mail, we're doing the most. I'm probably sending out somewhere between 12 and 15,000 pieces a month. And so you can kind of figure out the cost on that right there. So we had the last 2 months, we had some not failed marketing, but we were marketing direct mail wise. We were marketing to some owner occupied, and that was a complete accident. And we got nothing at all from it. So there was 2 months, a good 15 or so grand blown, and we don't have anything to show for it at the time.
Yeah.
Now,
how was that an accident? You accidentally mailed that list, or?
Yeah. So when I was actually buying my list and I went through the criteria that I was normally doing, I think I realized months later what the mistake was. I think I chose an age criteria. And the age criteria, for some strange reason, completely knocked out every single absentee owner, even though all the criteria that I had was meant for absentee owner. But the second I put the age field, I didn't even know, but it literally knocked out everybody. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh yeah, that list looks good. That's about the numbers we wanted. Great. Bought it and then started mailing things out. And then I'm realizing, wait a minute, the property address is the same as the owner's address. And I think there was like maybe 2% out of the entire, thousands and thousands and thousands that were absentee owners. And then so now about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I went back and then changed my criteria, and then that's how I found out it was just that age thing. And I don't know if this was through ListSource, by the way. So I don't know if for some strange reason, however they have their criteria, that age is going to screw it up. So keep that in mind if you guys are doing ListSource, that age criteria might foul you up.
Actually, yeah, good nugget and something good to learn from for sure. But yeah, continue there. I was just asking that question of how by mistake.
Facebook, Google PPC, direct mail, and then I've got like huge. I do really large cards, full color, double-sided, and then one of the things that I do, and I don't want to tell everybody, but guess what? Here we are. Is show. I actually put like my picture, or I'll put my acquisitions manager's picture on it, or I'll put my beautiful blonde wife that looks far better than I do on there, and then be like, hey, we're buying houses together. And my wife is like, why are you putting my picture on there? I'm not even making a phone call. I'm like, trust me, they like it. So I try to put something there that's a little more meaningful, and then that way they're not just throwing it out. And it doesn't cost much more than just somebody who's throwing out the same old freaking yellow cards with black or red lettering on it. So anyway, we try to stand out and be a little more meaningful.
For sure.
Make sure we have our Go ahead.
To butt in for a second, the mastermind we were talking about off air, we have a few of our Arizona members that put their picture on there the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think there's a psychological element there that if you can kind of like humanize your company, people can connect with you more. And obviously, everybody's sending mail in Atlanta or whatever market that you guys are listening to isn't putting like a picture of their gorgeous wife or family, whatever, on there to show they're buying houses and they're an actual human being.
Yeah, because, that also goes into when everybody's calling in, we make sure that we answer all the calls. I mean, there might be times where we're all busy, so clearly we don't answer that phone call, but we don't have any other kind of VAs or anything like that. And if they call in, they already know exactly who they're trying to call. Now, usually we just have like my acquisitions manager, because that's some of my old advertising. Mm-hmm. So they're going to specifically say, is this John Mark or whatever? And they are not used to that. They're used to just getting voicemails. And so because we answer all the phones, we definitely get a higher rate than probably a lot of these other people that are having to go through voicemails. And we can also stop them from going to the next wholesaler if we're already taking care of them immediately. And it's nice because then you'll hear them all the time. Oh, wait. That's you on the card? We're like, yes, ma'am, that's us on the card. Now they're like, oh, I love you. I'm like, you don't even know me, but now they feel like they know me because it's a picture on there. So yeah, that does help. I know a lot of people now, some of you guys may also be putting pictures of the house. Either you drove by and took a picture of the house and you did a one-off mailer and sent it to the person. That definitely helps. There's also some sources out there that'll just use the Google image of the person's house. Speaking of Anthony Epps, you were mentioning him earlier. Mm-hmm. He also does that. He uses whatever source he has for the Google image of the person's house. And when the people get it in their mail and see a picture of their house, they immediately then start to think, okay, this person definitely knows exactly what they're doing, or they've been by my house and they have no idea that it's just from a Google image. But anyway, so yeah, Google PPC, direct mail, Facebook. We do some cold calls. We're trying to pick up on cold calls. We do.
Are you using Mojo Dialer?
No, one of my guys want to start using Mojo Dialer. I've heard of it a lot, but I've not used it. But now I understand more about it. So that is something that he wants to jump on and do. That way he can kind of set his goals. Here's my number of numbers I want to call. Throw it in there, and it's like I can't leave until this list is done, which I think is freaking great. But no, right now it's more of just either use our call rail numbers or use our own personal cell phone numbers, and we already have our list, and then just start going down the list and then put in all of our notes and everything on it. So I think ringless voicemail is one that we are probably about to start working on, but we've got so many options right now for the team to be able to bring in leads. If I add that, we might be kind of thinning ourselves out a little bit until I add one more person to the team that can just focus on like ringless voicemails and text blast. We also do some email blast, but I don't want to use like MailChimp for it because I know you're going to be listed as a spam or whatever. So I just generally use my own personal email and then just do mail merges and send out 50 or 100 at a time. I know it takes a little bit of time, but at least I'm not going to get labeled as a spam. So I think that's pretty much about all of our marketing right now. I've got some huge banners. I've got car graphics on the vehicle. and I thought about building some banners on or billboards on some vacant land, or buy some land myself really cheap and then just throw up some billboards. That's one I haven't really told anybody about, but there you go. If you can find some cheap freaking land, throw up your billboard, and then all you got to do is just pay your taxes for the year. You can write some of that stuff off, I think, too. I think you can write taxes off. I don't think you can write the purchase of the property off, but writing some of the taxes off, and it's just considered marketing. Why not?
That helps. Yeah, a few commonalities and a couple nuggets there for all the different lead gen and marketing you're doing right now is just personalizing your message and your display to sellers, which you're able to do with like you and your wife, possibly a picture of that property like Anthony does, or like a picture of yourself, like I mentioned a couple of Arizona Investor Fuse members do. And then also just what Greg Bilber would refer to, the 5-minute rule, which is either answering the phone live or more specifically, if when a web form comes in, getting back to them as soon as possible to eliminate. And the purpose I'm talking about there is to eliminate competition from other wholesalers. Because I think that is true. If they get someone on the phone and someone at their property, more likely than not, they're not going to be reaching out to other wholesalers to come get offers. Some sellers are a little bit more savvy.
Yeah, some now,
yeah, they may get a few offers and kind of shop your offer, things like that, which us wholesalers, we don't necessarily appreciate. But the ones that are not that savvy, they'll talk to one wholesaler. If you make a good impression with them, establish credibility, personalize your communication, they're going to end up being able to end up working with you more times than not.
Yeah, and I think, you hit on something too, is I know that we all have competition. There's so many fish out here. So I don't let the team, I don't let them get all stressed. If we don't get a deal, it happens, because you know what? We're going to come right behind somebody else, and we're going to figure out whatever the other offers were, and we're going to weasel our way in there and get it as well. And guess what? They're going to do it to us. So I never let anybody get upset about that kind of stuff. But one of the things that I do tell all my guys is we always just focus on building rapport first and foremost. Then what's their problem? And then figure out how we can solve their problem. We didn't even talk about the house and everything else that's going on, because now they're going to look at us compared to the majority of the people that just walk in, knock on the door. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, you got a 4-bedroom, 3. Okay, how much did you want again? Okay, yeah, that's not going to work out. Okay, call me when you're ready for it. And then they just leave. And that's how majority of the wholesalers are. They just want to get straight to the numbers. And I know I can do that. And that's the reason why I've not hired other people who are far better at sales, because I naturally just want to be like, okay, I've got a bazillion things to do. I don't have time for all this. Let me just get to the numbers. And that doesn't always work with a lot of people. So I've been able to kind of tell all my guys what not to do, and they're doing a darn good job. But you want to build that rapport. You want to stand out from everybody else. And the other thing that we've done is I've got like a trifold brochure. So it's almost kind of like our leave behind packet, if you will. So if we're not able to get that deal signed right then and there, I'm leaving them with a contract, or the guy should be leaving with a contract. We should have like the brochure. We should have our business card. They should have all of our advertising. We make sure that they have access to our website so they can see all the video testimonials, our YouTube links. That way they can see that, hey, we are extremely credible. And then before we leave, it's like, hey, keep us in mind. And then if you decide you want to go work with the other people, by all means, go for it. But please at least give us the chance to maybe come back and see if we can talk to our account manager and maybe work something out for you. But make sure you ask them, do they have a website? Do they have all this other stuff? And of course, 90% of the people have none of that. And so they immediately think, oh, those other people aren't credible like Execo is. So that's another little way that we've already been able to try to, get a few more deals than most of our competition.
Love the idea of just a mandatory standard operating procedure of leaving a brochure after the appointment. Amazing way to establish credibility. Probably 95, if not more, other wholesalers are not doing that.
No, I don't hear of anybody else. I mean, I've got a lot of friends that are here, and I honestly, out of any of them, I don't think anybody else has created some other kind of leave behind packet, or at least a minimum of some kind of paper about it. So I don't know of anybody else doing that.
Yeah, man, that's
awesome.
And
it takes a lot of work to do that, to create those things, to come up with, what do you want to leave behind? It definitely takes a long time.
Yeah, man. Like, I was at what event was that? I think a Real Estate Worldwide, and Frank Kern was talking, and he's not a real estate guy, just a marketing guru.
Yeah.
And he had the crowd walk him through just the acquisitions pipeline of acquiring a property to wholesale. And he was like, why don't you guys leave a credibility package with like a market report that shows this is a good time to sell your house?
Yep.
Establish credibility. It's like all the same type of stuff. And everybody was just looking at each other like, this is an absolute gold mine.
Yeah. But then even that, how many people are actually doing what they know they should do?
That's a huge thing to hit on. Huge thing to hit on. And I'm guilty of it myself sometimes. Everybody
don't follow through. And I know, if you can't follow through, find somebody else, bring somebody on. That's where you start scaling. And that's the reason why we're doing so good now, is because, hey, I cannot do all these things. And I started admitting that, hey, I'm not near as good at certain things that I'd like to. Everybody else thought that I was amazing at everything. I'm like, no, man, I'm really good at being able to fake it till I make it and then hand it over. And that's what I've done. I mean, now I know a lot, but there's still so many things that I don't know. And now that I've got the team, now they're all relying on me. So there's no fake it till you make it now. Now it's, oh, you know what? I kind of screwed up on that one. I don't know what I'm talking about. So let me bring a professional in. And matter of fact, we just did that the other day. We were discussing subject 2. I knew enough to get in trouble. And I think after the meeting, I think I realized I knew a little bit more than I thought I did. But there were still some things that I didn't. So I ended up giving this other guy one of our deals just so he would come in and educate my entire team on start to finish on a subject 2 deal. I'm not a big fan of expecting handouts. I refuse to even think that I'm going to go to bed at night knowing that I owe somebody something. So it's like, let's just call it even. You get this awesome deal and you give us the education. And that's another thing, is a lot of people won't follow through with things that they should be implementing. And then they expect handouts instead of working hard for it and then offering other people value.
Yeah, man. Amazing nuggets there that probably just came out without even thinking of them. You're just kind of like, out of your subconscious. But those are great nuggets, man. For those of you guys who are just joining us, we're on with CEO Jesse LeBlanc, Exco Management. He's dropping some great nuggets here. If you're just listening, this will be on our Facebook page, so you can go back and watch. We'll also put it on YouTube. I want to go through a couple questions real quick while we're still on the acquisition side. And then we also have a question here more so on the disposition side that we can talk about as we go through like what you do on a day-to-day basis for Exco. Cool. So let me go here 1 second. And thank you guys for coming on, Chad. Thank you for your questions. Quentin, I'm just going to go through the couple questions that you have right now. And he's going to loop back to some of your lead gen and then also the appointment. So Quentin asks, what are your thoughts on GMAS instead of your mail merge?
GMAS versus my mail merge. I assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, are you assuming like a MailChimp versus my mail merge? If you are, because I'm not really sure what the GMAS is. The reason why I'm not doing MailChimp for that is because I know that they're not subscribing to being mailed to. So the second I blast out 100 to or 1,000 or whatever, majority of those people are going to be like spam, spam, spam. And I don't know the percentage, but after a certain percentage, they pretty much blacklist you. And then you've got to create a whole new account. And I'm going to have to probably create a whole new account every week or so. And so it takes a little bit more time. I could probably hire a VA or somebody for it. And I'm not doing a ton of mail merges yet. But once I do more, I'll probably hire somebody just for that. But again, that one's just coming from one of our own personal emails. If someone wants to block our own personal email, they can, but they can't, claim as us being spam or anything of that nature.
Okay, yeah, and Quentin just put up here if you can see on your end.
Yeah, it's an extension to get out of the permissions folder. I'll have to look into that. I'll have to get into that. I have no clue. I've never looked into it. I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I'm interested to see that as well. And then Quentin also had a question that you went over this, but we can kind of do a quick summary just because that's great stuff that people can listen to this today and take away. And maybe it's something a lot of people know that they should do, but maybe they don't, because there is the planning that goes into it. You may have to pay a little bit. You're going to have to pay a little bit like cost per lead more if it takes you. And maybe that's a number you can give us, like how much does it cost to make per brochure? But Quentin's question is, do you leave a physical contract with the seller? And I'm assuming you just mean that on an appointment.
Yeah, so that was actually a conversation I had with one of my guys this morning who should have known, and he did make a mistake, but it still turned out to be okay. Um, yes, I say same kind of thing. We already know our numbers. I want to leave that with them along with all the other information we have, so at least they have that physical contract. Majority of the time, we will do it through like Adobe Sign or DocuSign. So in that situation, we wouldn't be able to leave it out. But I still make sure the guys always have physical printed off copies. And yes, they should be leaving something behind. Now, does it might jump back to kind of bite you in the butt a little bit, because the next wholesaler, if they're calling a bunch of other wholesalers, the next person comes in and sees it there. Matter of fact, I saw Anthony Epps, one of his, and so I knew that, hey, I was going over there now, and I had no idea, and this lady didn't even know who this guy was, and I'm like, oh, I recognize that name. And so, yeah, sure, now all of a sudden I know who it was and what their offer was. So that can bite you a little bit, but it's better off to at least leave it there with them so they have something that they can go back and look at, and then they're going to go talk to their husband or wife or family or whatever. If you just give them a number and they go talk to their family members, they might forget their numbers, especially a lot of these elders. They're not going to really remember all the numbers. And then you don't want them to have to call you back with all these questions over the contract. Go over everything on the contract, try to make it as simple as you can, and then, yeah, hand it over. Absolutely. So we do try to leave it every single time.
Cool. Yeah. And Byron had a comment here about not liking to leave contracts, because this is what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, that sometimes the more savvy sellers, especially if they're getting like a bunch of direct mail, or maybe they go on a few websites, fill out different web forms, they may just call up 3, 4, 5 different companies and see who will give them, the best offer.
Yeah, so there's many ways around that. One is to qualify that lead first and see how motivated they are. If they're not that motivated, you're probably going to run into the problem that Byron's having right now. So definitely qualify your leads. And then use some other sales tactics while you're there. Now, I'm assuming, Byron, if you're there and you end up having to leave it there, before you walk out, if you're already kind of agreeing on a number, then you can kind of say, hey, if we agree on this number, is there any reason why you won't sign now? And then just shut up and wait. Most of the time, if they're truly waiting for other deals or other offers, they haven't told you that, and they're probably not going to. But this is a perfect way to get that answer out of them. They're going to be like, well, I'm just not 100% sure about this. We want to get some others. Okay, now that's the objection. That's the reason why they're not signing, because they're looking for other offers. Now you've got another piece of ammo to figure out. Now, before you walk out that door, go ahead and start drilling them on it. Well, what is it that you're looking for? How can I work that out? And obviously, if you've got a decent amount of spread, you might still be able to keep that seller and sign with you today instead of waiting for 3 to 4 other offers. So, yeah, I would still say leave it, qualify it, and figure out the reason why they're allowing you to just leave it and not sign today.
That's a great nugget there, Byron. I hope you were able to hear that. I have a question for you, if I may, that I was going to ask earlier. Are you self-trained for sales and negotiations for acquiring these investment properties? Or did you get some type of like a John Martinez course for you and your acquisitions managers to negotiate these deals? Because you seem pretty savvy. Maybe it was being in the police force, people person.
What exactly? Let's just say
that's why I like these interviews. Is like Byron's going to be able to take away just like a nugget on an appointment like that. Or Quinn's able to do that and provide that. But yeah, I was curious about that, because you're very in tune on the sales and negotiation game.
Trial and error, a lot of mess ups and mistakes. No, I guess just trying to find other people that are in what we do in wholesale. Try to find some other YouTube guys that maybe, okay, cool, I like the way that they operate. It's not just like come in here, all about numbers. I don't care about you. I like hey, we're building rapport. We're figuring out what your problems were. And so it was just a lot of podcasts, a lot of YouTube videos, and then just going out there, just getting out of your comfort zone and just start making it happen. And then I was pretty good at it, but I'm not amazing. I've done some sales way back in the day, back when I was probably 18 to 21, which now I'm 38. So that was quite some time ago. So I lost a lot of those sales tactics. But I think mostly what we do is just figure out what their problem is and become their friend. I know that they're going to sell their house to someone that they know, like, and trust. Well, they don't know us yet, but now they know our pictures, that now they know about us. They've got a little bit of history on us. So basically they know us. We're in there. We're building the rapport, giving them a hug, shaking their hand, doing whatever we got to do to it. Now they like us, and now they're going to trust us. And so that's how we pretty much get all of our deals signed that way. I don't think that I'm anything special, anything better than any of you guys that are out there. I know a lot of guys that do the John Martinez and all these other sales trainings and stuff. I've never done anything. So pretty much, yeah, self-taught.
Very cool. Appreciate the response there. Guys, I appreciate the questions coming in. Jeremy says, can I get a copy of this interview so I can share with his business partner? Great stuff. Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate that.
Awesome.
Let me get a couple more acquisitions questions and a hiring question here from Quentin, and then
Cool.
we'll move our way over to the disposition side / maybe more specific marketing type questions. Really, the floor is open to you guys. Jesse has been nice enough to spend his valuable time to help you guys out. He's very abundant mindset, so we are happy to have him on. Quentin, I'm getting to you right now, and maybe we could even go over pay structures here, because I know we were talking.
Yeah, I'm
about
on with that. That's fine.
Before we went on air, we were talking a little bit about pay structures, because everybody does it a little bit differently. And I know we talked about the 1% net on the flip revenue with your contractor, but maybe we can go into the acquisition stuff like that too. But Quentin is asking, what type of people do you find to hire for your job roles? Retired, over 40, young people, college grads, etc.
Awesome. I love this question, and I'll tell you why. Why? Because the 2 or 3 people that I've fired, I actually sought after. All those who are working with me now that are far better than I am, that's making this company what it is, they all came to me because they were motivated, they were looking, they wanted to learn, they wanted to grow, and I already kind of had something available for them. They were going to offer me value, and I'm going to offer them value. So as far as what are the type of people I'm looking for, I don't think age really matters too much. It's more of, for us, it's more of, are you going to fit in our culture? And what's your attitude? And are you going to be able to take care of my people like I would, as far as all of our sellers, and same thing with our buyers? Are you going to pretty much be like me? We don't need a bunch of me. I guess we don't need a ton of myself. We just need other people that fit each of those roles. But as long as you care about the people and are motivated, I say that you're still motivated by money. I know you guys are going to probably jump on me for this one, but let me explain. I am 100%, and I will say this for a very long time, I am 100% motivated by money. Not to the point where I'm keeping it all and not letting anybody have any fun with it. I'm not greedy whatsoever. So I want money so that way I can grow the company. All the money goes right back into marketing, almost every penny I could. I don't even want to take a salary if I can help it. I want to make sure that my team is growing. I want to be able to have the option to be able to buy them rental properties. I want them to be able to do flips. And so by me bringing in more and more money, I can send them on vacations. I can keep them all happy. So that's kind of what motivates me, is having that money so we could go do whatever we want to do when we want to do it, and then grow the team. And if I didn't have that, I obviously wouldn't be able to push my team. I wouldn't be able to support them, wouldn't be able to have the marketing. So yeah, a lot of people will probably deny it, but I think a lot of people are also motivated by money. But anyway, let me step back. College grads, young people over 40, I don't think the age matters as long as you've got the drive, and I'm not having to babysit you. I refuse to be a micromanager. I tell everybody from day one, if you want me to micromanage you, you're already one step out the door. I want people who will listen to some of the things that I'm saying, but don't treat me like I know everything. I want you to ask questions. If there's anything you don't know, ask me. I want to see you take initiative. I want to see you stressed out a little bit and see if you can handle it, because eventually you're not going to be working here for me. You're going to find a much better option. You're going to go off and do this yourself. And so right now, I'm just a great stepping stone for you to go off and do this yourself. And I'm going to be right there behind you to help push you and grow.
Very cool. And just a follow-up for Quentin's question, I guess I would want to know, where did you find these hires? And it may be different for each role, but where would you recommend maybe some success you've had as far as locating talent and where you've been able to hire these employees?
Yeah, so the only one that I might be seeking out is right now we're about to grab a bookkeeper. So then I just put a job role out there on Facebook And then I also I think I put it on Indeed or something there. But as far as everybody else that I recently hired on the acquisition side, they've just seen our accomplishments over the last year or two, and they've just been following us on Instagram, Facebook, whatever else, and realized, hey, this is like a legit good dude, good company, and maybe this person can teach me a little bit. And so the last two people that we've hired, that's exactly where it came from. They just reached out to me, sent me an email, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I might have a position for you soon. And sure enough, go have a coffee meeting or whatever. Everything worked out really good. And I'm like, man, this is the perfect fit for this job. So that's pretty much what I've done. Now, if you're starting out, you might not have that credibility and whatnot. So then you may want to just go to like REI meetings. You may want to find a lot of motivated new people, for example. And that's great. You know, if you've got something that you can teach a lot of these newer guys, they're highly motivated. So use their motivation while you teach them a little bit, and then grow together that way. And then, of course, they've got friends. And then start making more of your YouTube videos, your social media posts. Sometimes you got to make it seem like you're bigger and better than you might really be, and then people start following you. And as long as you're offering good value and you're not lying to them, then you'll start having a lot of people who want to come work for you or with you.
Yeah, I think establishing credibility and relationship building, both with sellers, but also just kind of like your local real estate investing community, is a deep-rooted long-term play. That's kind of like a snowball effect. Like, it may not be a lot starting off, but you'll start seeing a lot of that compounded benefits, as time goes on, and it'll just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That's another consistent theme I've seen with successful Investor Fuse members that I've chatted with. Quentin has another question here. Quentin, thank you for the questions and hopping on, guys. We're on with Jesse LeBlanc here, Exigo Management, Atlanta, Georgia. Happy to have him on. Quentin wants to know, how many VAs do you have and what are their tasks for day-to-day work? That's another popular question we get about VA workload, everything like that. Appreciate the question.
Yeah, so I hear that all the time. I have never hired a VA. I'm not going to say that I won't, but I probably will not hire a VA. I just don't want to have to go through the troubles of training them and then them still not doing what I want to do. How do I monitor what they're doing? Are they lying? Are they doing it good enough? Again, that to me, that almost goes back to micromanaging. But I know that might be part of a system that I do have to implement. For example, like the mail, that might be a data entry kind of thing that's annoying, where I don't have to have people picking up the phone and talking to them. So yeah, again, I don't have any VAs. Everybody that I have here works for me full-time or part-time, and they're always answering the phone calls. We try never to let anything go to voicemail. So yeah, I know there are going to be some little tasks, but at the same time, like even our bookkeeper, I'm just going to hire somebody that's going to be in our office for like 5 to 10 hours a week. You know your task. It's somebody local, someone that can come to our office that I can, kind of see face to face. I don't mind paying a little bit more because I know exactly what I'm going to get, and I know I can see the people face to face.
Very cool. Let me hop over. This is a good transition over to possibly what you're doing here day to day on the disposition side. Quick question from Allison, and she's more so asking about marketing on the disposition side. If you had any marketing tips to get more buyers for properties that you have under contract that you're looking to sell, and maybe we can segue into this as we talk about your day to day and maybe even just selling properties in general, signing properties out in general.
Sure. So that's a great one, because I know we kind of already went over a little bit about what type of advertising and stuff we're doing. So any marketing tips? Just about any marketing you do, it's going to come down to follow-ups. You rarely ever just get that phone call. I need to sell my house now. Oh, right now? Yeah, you can have the house. You rarely ever get those. So the majority of them, they want to talk to you. You've got to build that rapport. And then after all said and done, you don't always get the contract signed right then and there. So a marketing tip, even though it doesn't really sound like it's marketing, is to stay on top of your leads. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Don't give up. The second you give up, somebody else is coming right in there and going to swoop it up from behind you. So you might already have amazing marketing, Allison. You might already be doing really good, but you might not be following up like you should be doing. But other marketing tips, perhaps make sure your criteria is correct. I don't know if you're doing absentee or if you want to focus on owner occupied. You definitely want to try to find more of those motivated sellers. Obviously, I know that sounds kind of rhetorical. Everybody's going after these highly motivated sellers. But what they don't do is, again, follow up. Find other ways to track the people down. If you're just doing direct mail, don't just rely just on direct mail. If you need to, go knock on a door. Go knock on the neighbor's door. Figure out who's over there. What's the phone number? One thing, here's one that I've used that I think is really good, a good nugget here for you guys. And Allison, you could probably use this one. If you're running into a house that has a tenant in there, you know you want to buy that house. Well, you don't know how to get a hold of the owner or the landlord. So what I've done is I've figured out what the owner's name was, because that's freaking easy to do. And then I just grab a normal envelope and then just write Department of Treasury or something on that to make it look like it's from the IRS. And I put the owner's name on it, and I'll go knock on the door and be like, hey, I live around the corner. I've got this mail that looks super important. And I'm guessing, is this your name? Or I don't know. Oh, no, that's my own, that's the landlord or whatever. Oh, okay, cool. Well, do you have their phone number or their address? Because I don't want to just like leave it to you. I'm sure you understand, but I want to be able to hand deliver it to whoever this is, or call them. Oh, yeah, let me go ahead and get the number of my landlord. Ding, ding. Now you've got the landlord's number, and they don't know that you're about to buy the house from them. So that's another one.
Nugget there as well. Almost like serving somebody.
Exactly.
That's funny. Allison also is asking about like on the buyer side. And I know you mentioned Facebook for getting seller leads earlier. I can still say I can't say I confidently know somebody that's consistently getting the motivated seller leads on Facebook. I guess it's just because, psychologically, people that are like in distress aren't logging on Facebook to try to sell their house. They're probably just doing it like how everybody else is on Facebook. I know that there are buyers. A lot of people are getting investor buyers, whether they're out of state, out of country. People are having a ton of success on the disposition side. But what marketing tips would you have on getting buyers to sell the properties to?
You using Facebook or just in general?
In general.
So let's just say on the Facebook side, it really depends on some of your criteria. You might be focused on just a certain age, or you can also target. I don't really do all this. I let one of my marketing ladies handle some of this.
So that might be tip number one. Let someone else handle it.
Yeah, exactly. If they're the professional in it, you might be better off just paying a little bit more and letting them handle it.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, I know what I'm paying. I know what I'm getting. And obviously it's really working. But I know a few things are, if you can find, there's ways that they can go behind the scenes of, let's say, Facebook or whatever, and say, hey, if they're already looking at certain things, like, hey, have they ever clicked on a sell my house ad? Okay, start targeting that person, and then start targeting like individuals. I think they use some other term, but find other people who are around the same age, running into the same problems, clicking on the same ads. Now start putting all of our marketing on those people's pages. And then we can also have a picture, or it's a pixel, I believe is what it is. Again, let me just let my website guys handle that. But they can put a pixel on your website, and so then it tags them. So then the second they go to our website, they know, hey, cool, they've been interested in, Exego buys houses. They're interested in selling their house. So now when they're back on Facebook or Google or whatever else, now randomly it's going to start sending them our advertising just because they've been on our page. So they've already been tagged. So that's another way to kind of start getting more and more leads. I'm trying to think of what else. Google PPC, I haven't really done a whole lot. Sometimes if, let's say we've got a major storm that comes in, and here in Atlanta, if we have bad storms, we're always having trees and stuff fall down. So once in a blue moon, if that happens, I'll change our ads to like an image of a house with a tree or something on the roof. And a lot of people here have their houses paid off, but they don't have insurance. And so the second now they start looking for tree damage or roof damage or sell my house, well, we've got all three covered right then and there. So you just got to kind of think about who you're marketing to, what they're looking for, and then just start creating your ads that way. And same thing with your direct mail. If you know that you're marketing to a certain age, well, then you might want to put some other kind of graphics on that that's going to pop out to them. You might want it to stand out bigger. You just got to really think of who you're marketing to and what would they want to see. The other thing you can do is when you're going on to some of your leads, you can talk to those sellers. Hey, have you gotten any other ads? How did you find us? Start figuring out what others are doing and how the reason why they called you instead of them. What made you stand out, or what If they called somebody else, what did they like or didn't like? And then just start putting things together until you figure out exactly what your best strategy is.
Very cool. Guys, keep those questions coming in here. We're probably going to wrap up somewhat soon. We may hear, I'd like Jesse to go over a little bit, kind of like a high level, what he's doing day to day, even though he's hit on that a little bit. Right now, he's a CEO with multiple team members working with him. So a lot of that's managing that. I'm sure he's overseeing the people he's managing for marketing that we were just discussing. But would love to hear a little bit about what you're doing on the disposition side day to day and kind of overall mindset day to day and where you're looking to go in the future. Like, where do you have your vision from where you are right now? You've obviously reached a certain high level of success, but where do you see yourself going in the future moving forward here?
Yeah. So day to day, I've obviously got to stay up with my acquisitions manager. And then, of course, he's got 2 guys currently under him. We're about to hire another probably 2 more here shortly. So those guys are still calling me while we're training, but generally they're going to go through my acquisitions manager. So then I only have to contact with him. And then one of my newest hires is going to be our account/lead manager. So all she's focused on is all of our hundreds and hundreds of leads from the last 2 years or so, just going back, nurturing those leads, getting them back up to the hot level. Once they're the hot level, boom, send it back over to our acquisitions. And then I'll review all of their numbers until they get completely confident. So this last week, I know I'm going to bounce around a little bit, but this last week, we've already got like 9 or 10 contracts. We got 1 or 2 this morning. So on the disposition side, I'm the one doing the dispositions. But after this week, I'm already thinking, yep, it's time to go ahead and relinquish that. And that's been the hardest thing to do, is just let that go, because we go the extra mile when it comes to our dispositions. As most of you guys will know, Byron, I'm sure you see this all the time. You will get a lead from a wholesaler, this amazing deal with an address and an ARV and a rehab number and no pictures, but you're totally supposed to believe that it's an amazing deal. So we will have pictures, video, walkthrough, interior, exterior, the entire breakdown as if I was the one doing the flip, exactly how much I think everything is going to cost. And yeah, it takes me hours and hours to put that whole packet together to the 10th of a mile, exactly how far away every single comp is. I'll take pictures, the inside pictures, exterior pictures of that house, and make sure everybody now knows if they get a packet from us, they don't even have to go back and look at all the stuff. But I make sure we give them access to the Dropbox or any other links just to verify. And, I challenge people to come back and question any of our comps, our rehab pricing, or anything. But most people don't do that. And so on our disposition side, that's the reason why it takes me hours and hours, and I like it done a certain way. So it's going to take me a minute to train somebody to do all that. But day to day, yeah, first thing in the morning, man, I'm getting up, following up with what leads have come in from overnight or in the morning that the guys might have already answered before I did, see if there's any questions that they need answered, and then just start going through all my emails and then pushing out more marketing, calling several of our vendors. And then I've also still got our flips going on. So I'm trying to communicate with my project manager and answer his questions and get him set up. And then meanwhile, trying to still have meetings like this right here. Yeah. And so I generally will start around 8 or so in the morning. And if the wife is working, which she almost is every day, then I probably stop around 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes it might be like 9:30 or 10, but I just don't stop going. And I'm okay with that. I love that, work hard, play hard kind of deal. And so where I'm wanting to go here shortly, right now we're only in the Metro Atlanta market. I'm about to add 2 areas just outside Atlanta, but still within kind of the Metro Atlanta area. And then from there, I'm thinking I'm going to probably start another 1 to 3 teams outside of Atlanta, maybe Tennessee, Alabama, or something there. And then once we've got our systems here, we know it's working, then start pushing out that way. And then still doing flips, but again, quality over quantity. And we've got a staging company as well that kind of does all of our flips for us. And then I help some investors. So I think that's pretty much where I see that we're going to go, just to other markets and expand from here.
Very cool, man. Inspiring stuff. One quick question from me as far as overseeing the flips while also trying to wholesale some of these deals. What percentage of your revenue is coming from the wholesale deals versus the flips? as of like currently right now?
So I won't have the exact percent, but I would say on most of my flips, I'm making anywhere between 40 and 80,000 on each flip. And then our wholesale, I would say our average wholesale is probably between 12 and 20, somewhere around there. So give or take maybe 15 or so is probably our average. We've had some really good ones lately. But I think part of that is because my acquisitions manager was extremely conservative like I was. He's probably a little bit more conservative than I was. So he's always like pushing low, 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 and I'm pushing high, high, high. And so we've been able to have really good spreads, but that was, again, more of a quality, if you will, there. Now with the new team, I'm like, okay, I'm spending a boatload of money on marketing. So now let's just go ahead and like lessen up our criteria a little bit, stop being quite as conservative and bring in some more deals. So now we're probably our numbers are going to be a little bit lower, but that's fine. It's keeping the new guys busy, motivated. And again, now here we are having 10 or so deals that I've got to hurry up and turn over just because we've loosened up a little bit on our criteria. So again, going back to our old numbers, our old sellers, the numbers didn't work then. Now let's increase it a little bit. Now all of a sudden it works, but it's twofold. Now all of a sudden the number works because they were still stuck on a certain number 8 months ago or a year ago, but now the market is also appreciated. So we don't mind coming up a little bit because we're still going to be back to where we were originally.
Awesome, man. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody who is on here live bringing questions for Jesse, really appreciate that as well. What's the best place for them to check you out online if they want to get a little visual of your seller site? If somebody out there is looking to build credibility online, what's the best place for you, Jesse?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I would say hit me up on Facebook. I believe it's going to still be under Jesse LeBlanc, but you could probably type in Execo Management, and then I've also got a Facebook page with Execo Management. But just friend me on my page. And then from there, you can see a lot of our seller testimonials. I'm still working on a ton more testimonials. You'll see a lot of videos of our flips and some of our houses and stuff there. Feel free to, you guys will have my contact info on there as well, but feel free to reach out to me via cell text 404-984-1888. But again, just hit me up on Facebook and we'll definitely connect, especially you, Byron. I see you up here busy, man.
Awesome, man. Well, Jesse, thank you very much, man. Appreciate you. Glad to see your success here. And I know it's coming working those long days and staying motivated and abundant mindset. You're destined for even more success. I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, no doubt. And then, here, just one other thing to let you guys know. I know you're probably interested in seeing part of our brochure. You don't have to see word for word, but I want to point out one little thing. Like, for example, here's my project, my acquisitions manager. And here was one of our sellers. So it's little things like that. That gentleman, the only way he was going to sign the contract is if my acquisitions manager came out to his house and helped him fry a Thanksgiving turkey. So it's little things like that sometimes you have to do. You just got to suck it up, whether you like it or not. My guy's been riding in golf carts for hours just building that rapport with the seller. I've had another one here you'll see just of myself and an elderly lady. Unfortunately, literally 2 weeks after we bought her house, she passed away with stage 3 cancer. But I went to her house. She was just crying, bawling. She didn't even realize that anybody would ever come help her out. So it's little things like that. Just go the extra mile, stand out, because guess what? You can use those in your advertising marketing. And for your testimonials, I can tell you every single seller, when they see that kind of stuff, it immediately builds credibility. But then they start to feel like they know you, and guess what? Then they like you, and once they trust you, that's when they sign the contract.
Absolutely, man. That's a great takeaway, if not the greatest takeaway from here. And it's something we do internally with Investor Fuse too. We call it aping, always providing extra and just being personal. That's why we have a culture fit of people that naturally do that and are aligned with those values and beliefs. So
yeah, you guys are freaking amazing. That was one of the reasons why I actually still stuck with you guys. And I think I've sent some messages before, and I've told other people, like, dude, they've got the best freaking support. If you want it, they're there for you. They'll call you. I don't care. And so I know I've been really thankful and appreciative of you guys doing that. So I don't know. I'm sure there's others, but I don't know of anybody else that has the support that you guys do. So I appreciate it.
Appreciate that, man. That's awesome to hear. Thank you guys so much for hopping on. As soon as we cut off here, you'll be able to see the replay. I'm sure you guys are going to want to go back, Byron, Quentin, especially for some of those nuggets that I wasn't able to type up on the screen there. But This will be available on our Facebook page, Investor Fuse, and we'll also put it up on YouTube. So don't worry, we're not going away, and you'll be able to gain some of Jesse's nuggets and wisdom here. Thank you again, Jesse, so much. Look forward to talking to you.
Appreciate it, sir. Thanks, Carlos. See you, buddy.